Jake, you'll never believe what I just heard. Mark Moriarty and Dave Grant claimed that they saw aliens from outer space at Duffy's barn last night.
Aliens? They've been watching too many movies. There's no such thing as aliens, at least not at Duffy's barn.
Well, I ran into Dave Grant just as he was leaving football practice, and he told me that Sergeant Morrow, his coach, saw the aliens too. He said Sergeant Morrow called his astronomer friend, Dr. Kanara, just before practice. He asked her to come meet him at school so they could discuss extraterrestrials.
Sergeant Morrow isn't the type to make up stories. Maybe we ought to go investigate these UFO sightings. Mark's always up to something. I wouldn't be surprised if this was just another one of his tricks.
Jake, I've never been more serious in my life. You've got to listen to us.
He's right, Jake. We're not kidding around.
Dave and I were out camping in Slater's Woods last night, practicing our outdoorsman skills for scouts.
We decided it would be cool to sneak over to Farmer Duffy's and see if we could creep up on a few of his cows, you know?
Well, we crawl up to his barn, real quiet-like in our fatigues.
And we hear this really weird noise, like a huge engine revving up.
And the whole place is covered in this creepy fog.
And then all these really bright lights turn on, and we see him.
The alien!
From outer space.
Nobody's going to believe some dumb drawing. We've got to go back out there tonight with my camera and get proof.
You're right. Then we'll go to the newspapers.
We'll be famous! I can see the headlines now. Brave kids stop alien invasion.
Hey, Jay Lightfoot must be substituting for Mrs. Garcia again. Jennifer and I love his books. Maybe he can help us find out about UFOs.
Sorry, kids. I'm afraid I can't be much help as far as research goes. The only books we have on UFOs and aliens are science fiction books. In fact, my last book was about a boy who gets kidnapped by creatures from the Andromeda Galaxy. I had a tough time getting background sources for that one. Mr. Starr, the manager at the Egyptian Theater, helped me on the project. One of his hobbies is collecting articles on UFO sightings. I bet he'd love to help with your investigation. Come to think of it, a UFO sighting in Richview would be great publicity for my book.
Maybe we can get more down-to-earth answers from Sergeant Morrow, the school football coach. He should be just about finished with practice now.
I know this sounds insane, Dr. Kanara, but I know what I saw.
It's not that I'm saying it's impossible, Buck. It's just that as a scientist, I have to maintain a certain amount of skepticism.
Oh, hi, kids. I'm glad you two stopped by. This is Dr. Canara, the astronomy professor from the Mount Vernon College. I was just telling her about the strange goings-on at Duffy's farm last night.
Yeah, we heard that you, Mark, and Dave saw some pretty weird stuff. What can you tell us about it?
I was driving home from my karate lessons around 8 p.m. when I noticed some strange lights behind Farmer Duffy's barn. It was the eeriest thing. The whole place was blanketed in fog. There's never that much fog this time of year. Cutting through the fog near the barn were some bright spotlights, like the kind used on search helicopters. Then suddenly, out of the light, stepped this huge creature. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I started backing away, and it raised its arms, I guess, and came at me. I ran back to my truck and took off home to get my video camera. I knew no one would believe me without proof, but when I returned, the place was deserted.
Frankly, my specialty is not alien life forms. As an astronomer, my expertise lies in the study of stars. To date, no one has proven that intelligent life exists on other planets. But if you consider the billions of stars astronomers have discovered, it is possible that one of the planets orbiting those stars may be capable of supporting life. What kind of form that life would take is anyone's guess. Perhaps they might even look like the multi-armed green creature that Buck has drawn for us here. Jay Lightfoot would love to believe that. His newest book is all about UFOs and strange beings from outer space. He came to me for some of his astronomy research.
Mr. Starr's a collector of UFO stories. He might have some information we can use.
An unidentified flying object sighting in Richview? Fascinating. I'd love to interview the witnesses for the Richview Herald. I sometimes do freelance movie reviews for them, you know. In fact, Jay Lightfoot and I spent all last night hooking up my modem to the newspaper's computer mainframe so I could transmit my articles to them from home electronically. This is so exciting. Aliens have fascinated me ever since I was a kid. I started collecting information on sightings 15 years ago. I still go to every sci-fi movie that comes out. My favorite is Invasion from the Planet Arg. Now that's a classic. I even have an actual frame of the 35mm film they used for shooting the original movie. I can't wait until the sequel comes out. Dangmar Gregg, the director, has been very secretive about the filming location. I hear it's because he doesn't want the surprise ending to be discovered. He goes to great lengths to see that no one knows who he is when he's on location. They say he does all his filming at night and even wears dark sunglasses and a hat to cover his face.
Ms. Case, the manager here at Swank's, is a good friend of Mrs. Duffy. Maybe she can shed some light on what's been going on over at the farm.
Joanne Duffy and I have been friends since high school. Usually we tell each other everything, but I've been out of town all week, so I'm not totally caught up. Their last few crops were pretty thin, and Joanne was worried that they wouldn't have enough cash to get their old tractor fixed for the planting season. She told me a few weeks ago that her husband is worried that if they don't come into some money soon, they may have to sell the farm.
Hey guys, have you heard the latest Screaming Fingers album? I just got it on CD. It is so cool.
You must be making some pretty good tips these days to be able to afford CDs. They're expensive.
Tell me about it. I'd be tuneless this week if that foreign guy hadn't been handing out cash like it was going out of style. He's the guy over by the elevators. Oh, I guess he just went up to his room. Pretty strange, though. He leaves here every night around 7 p.m. all covered up with scarves and dark glasses, then shows up again just before I go off shift at 1 a.m. He says his name is Mr. Hyde, but I noticed when I brought his luggage up that his tags were monogrammed with the initials DG. Go figure.
on, Jake. You know our elevators are only for guests.
This talk of space creatures is giving me the creeps. I wonder what really happened at Duffy's barn last night.
Aliens? No, honey. We don't have any space critters around here, but I've seen some stories about them on the TV. Just last night, Mr. Duffy and I were watching one on that show, Unbelievable Stories. It was all about psychics who actually picked up thought waves from UFOs orbiting the Earth. I was just glad Mr. Duffy was in for the night. He says those shows are all made up, but they just give me the shivers.
Aliens? There's no such thing. Someone's been telling you tall tales, Jake. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do.
Buck Morrow says he saw some strange lights near your barn last night. Did you see anything?
The only lights Morrow could have seen here were the headlights on my truck. I was working on the irrigation system in the west field all last night. That boy's losing his mind. Hey, you kids get on out of there. That's private property.
This UFO mystery is pretty far out, but I think we've got the evidence we need to crack it. Pick the clues that you think point to who's behind this alien invasion. Those are the clues we needed. Now point out who you think is responsible for the strange happenings at Duffy's barn last night. You're right. That alien invasion was staged by Dagmar Gregg. Let's check the evidence. Mark and Dave told us that they paid a sneak visit to Farmer Duffy's place and came face to face with this green 12-armed monster from outer space. Sergeant Morrow said that he went to investigate some strange lights he saw at the barn, and he saw the alien too. They all noticed a strange fog that surrounded the alien. One of the magazines at Mark's fort was all about movie monsters. It had some photographs of the aliens from the movie Invasion from the Planet Arg that looked a lot like the aliens drawn by our witnesses. The magazine we read in the library said that the famous director, Dagmar Gregg, has begun filming the sequel to his movie Invasion from Planet Arg and is keeping the filming location top secret. It also mentioned that Dagmar Gregg's movie trademark is an eerie fog. When we questioned Farmer Duffy, he claimed that the strange lights that Sergeant Morrow saw must have been the headlights on the truck he was using while he worked in his fields all night. But Mrs. Duffy told us that her husband had been with her all night watching Unbelievable Stories on TV. He must have been trying to cover something up. Ms. Case told us that the Duffys have been having financial problems and that their old tractor needed repairs. But when we visited the farm, we saw a brand new tractor in the field. Before Farmer Duffy chased us out of the barn, we noticed a film canister marked Ultravision Professional 35mm. That's the same kind of film Dagmar Gregg uses to shoot his movies. Chuck told us that the man signed into Swank's hotel as Mr. Hyde had luggage tags monogrammed DG. He also said the man wore dark glasses even at night. Mr. Starr told us that Dagmar Gregg always filmed at night and wore dark glasses to hide his identity.